All right, today we're jumping into a true classic, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, this isn't just another self-help book. It's more like an operating system for your life, a framework that can totally change how you see the world and act in it. And really, it all kicks off with one simple but really powerful question.
So, let's just start right here. Think about it. We all know people who are just constantly busy, right? Their calendars are a mess, they're always running around, but are they actually making progress on what truly matters? This is the core idea, shifting from just doing a bunch of stuff to doing the right stuff.
Covey's whole philosophy is built on what he calls an inside-out approach. You can't lead a team, you can't have great relationships, you can't be effective with other people until you first mastered yourself. So this first stage, the private victory, it's all about that internal work. It covers the first 3 habits.
To get what he means, listen to this quote. It's from a story about a grandmother who would just complain and complain for hours about grocery prices, blaming the government, blaming everyone and everything except herself. This, right here, is the perfect picture of what Covey calls a reactive mindset.
And that brings us to the very first habit. Be proactive. You see, reactive people spend all their energy on things they can't control, the economy, the weather, what other people think. But proactive people, they focus their energy on what they can control. So instead of complaining about regulations, they ask, okay, how can I make my product better? That little shift in focus, it's a total game changer.
Okay, let's try a little thought experiment. And I'm serious, take a second here. Imagine you're at your own funeral. You're looking down. What do you honestly hope people are saying about you? What kind of person were you? What did you stand for? This question, as strange as it sounds, is the core of Habit 2, Begin with the End in Mind. It's about figuring out your own definition of a life well lived.
So here's where the rubber meets the road. Once you know that end goal, you've got to ask yourself, are my actions today getting me any closer? You know, if you want to be remembered as a kind and loving spouse, does coming home every day stressed out and negative? Does that line up? If you want to add real value to the world, does playing it safe and choosing comfort over contribution help? It's all about alignment.
I mean, if I asked you right now to list your top priorities in life, you'd probably say things like your health, your family, your close friends, right? It's pretty unlikely you'd say, you know, what's really important to me is organizing my paper clips.
But here's the crazy part. There's often this horrible disconnect between what we say is important and where our time actually goes. We might say our relationships are everything, but then spend double the time just scrolling or watching TV. And this leads us right into Habit 3, put first things first. It's about actually scheduling your priorities, not just squeezing them in whenever you have a free moment. Okay, so once you've started to get your own house in order, you're proactive, you know where you're going, and you're focusing on what matters, then you're ready for the public victory. This is where we shift our focus to building really strong, effective relationships with other people. Check out this scenario with 2 authors. The old way of thinking, the win-lose way, says, for me to win, you have to lose. So I'm going to trash talk your book to try and steal a few sales. But Habit 4, think win-win, says that's just a scarcity mindset. What if we had an abundance mindset? What if we collaborated, promoted each other's work? We don't just split a tiny pie, we work together to bake a much, much bigger one for both of us.
So how do you get to those win-win outcomes? Well, it all starts with Habit 5, and this might just be the most important rule of communication, period. The order here is absolutely critical. First, you have to genuinely, deeply listen and seek to understand where the other person is coming from before you even think about trying to make your own point. So what happens then? What's the result when 2 people actually do this? When they move past their own agendas, they truly listen, and they're both committed to finding a solution that works for everyone.
Well, you get synergy. That's Habit 6. It's this incredible idea that the whole is way greater than the sum of its parts. It's where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It equals 3, or 10, or even 100. Covey tells a simple story. Imagine 2 people trying to get apples from a tree, but they're both too short. On their own, they fail. But if one person lifts the other up, suddenly they can get all the apples. Together, they create a result that was literally impossible for them individually. That's synergy.
So, we've covered the private victory, we've covered the public victory, but there's one last habit, and it's the one that makes everything else actually stick for the long haul. It's the habit of renewal. And the best way to understand this is with the story of the woodcutter. See, he's been hacking away at this tree for hours, and he's just getting more and more exhausted, making zero progress. Someone comes along and says, hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen your saw? And the woodcutter replies, I can't, I'm too busy sawing.
Now we can laugh at that, but how often do we do the exact same thing? That is habit 7, sharpen the saw. It's every time we say we're too busy for 30 minutes of exercise, or that we don't have 15 minutes a day to read a book. We're always looking for shortcuts, for magic bricks, while we let our foundation crumble. Sharpening the saw is just about investing in you, your body, your mind, your relationships. It's the habit that fuels all the others.
So, there you have it, a really fast tour through a truly life-changing way of thinking. But hearing about it is one thing. What's the first step to actually doing it?
Just remember the path. It always starts from the inside out. You work on yourself first. That's the private victory. Be proactive, know your destination, put first things first. Once that foundation is solid, you can build incredible things with others, the public victory. And you keep the whole engine running through constant, continuous renewal.
Ultimately, it all just boils down to a choice. Knowing this stuff is great, but acting on it is everything. So the only question that really matters right now is this one. The saw is in your hands. How are you going to sharpen it?